Welcome to the Well Podcast. I am your host, Sharika Himes, and we are going to continue our conversations with the authors from the TWS Haven Retreat Devotional, The Well Woman, a refreshing for the soul. Today, we are so fortunate to have with us Dr. Kandi Owens. Hey, Dr. Kandi.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
How are
You
you?
look amazing. I just asked her, like when we were doing our pre-warm up, like, how did you end up as a doctor and not a model? And she was like, oh, thank you. She's so modest. She is so gorgeous. Yes, ma'am. So, Dr. Kandi,
Yes.
we are fresh off this year's TWS Haven Retreat. It's year 2 for you.
Yeah.
Explain to us what your first experience was like.
Well, it was a bit mind-blowing. I think even at this time, even after a second one under my belt, I am still trying to figure out the first experience. But it was really beautiful. I didn't know what to expect. I think you and I are still kind of new in our relationship.
Yes, we are.
And so it was more so like, okay, well, Sharika asked me to. And God's not saying no, so I should be there.
Oh, I
And
love, thank you, Father.
Yes, and so it was a really dynamic experience. It was unexpected. I have a really, really hard time resting. That's not something I think that's woven in my DNA, but I have found out recently that it is God's design for me to rest.
Yes,
And
imagine
so-
that.
Imagine that. So it was nice to lean into that a little bit that first year, and also be able to contribute.
Yeah.
And I think as I've reflected on it, I don't think I would have just gone for rest because that's not,
in your DNA.
it's not in my DNA. But because there was a role and because I was asked, then I got to happen upon what God really wanted me to have during that year.
Good.
Yeah.
Did you approach year 2 differently? Were you open this year with the expectation of rest, even though you were going to serve and present?
Yeah, I think so, right? As much as I can be anyway. But I cleared out my schedule so I could be there to the last moment.
Yes, thank you
Which I
so
could not
much.
do the first year.
Yes.
And so I think that was one of the first indicators to me, like, oh, there's something in you that maybe is intangible that's really needing this and like gearing me towards that. And so it was different. It was a different experience. And I think I came more so with the expectancy of rest, but expectancy of encountering God in a special and a new way. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
An expectation to encounter God in a new and unexpected way.
Yeah.
I love that. So people keep hearing me call you Dr. Kandi.
Yeah.
You are a licensed clinical psychologist,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Certified all the things, right?
Yes.
So when your entire role is about helping other people to wellness
Yes.
and hopefully to wholeness.
Absolutely.
And so when you say that rest is not wired in your DNA, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's always interesting to be a therapist who encourages her clients towards rest and relaxation and wholeness and the sort of things that can only happen when you slow and you settle. But that is not something that easily comes to me. And so it has been a practice of encountering that myself and trying to do that. It makes me really good at noticing the barriers to that for other people because I'm like, ooh, yes, I know that, but
Yeah, you can relate to it,
I
right?
can relate to
What
it,
do you mind
yes.
sharing with us what one of the barriers to rest is for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I say that it's in my DNA, the not resting comes from childhood, like childhood truths that I have, which one of them is that I have to produce in order to legitimize my existence.
Oh,
And to make it okay that my parents chose to keep me. I was an unplanned pregnancy, and my parents were teenagers, and it was like in the time where you married the person that
yeah, you got pregnant?
yeah, you made a child with. And so somehow, and I don't know how the story got engrafted into my existence, like that is a truth that I've carried, is that, okay, I need to make my parents proud. I need to produce and produce like heavily too, not just like anything, not mediocre,
Yeah.
but some things that are great and very successful in order to make it all worthwhile for them, that they chose that, and then all the subsequent consequences that came after that. And so for me, resting doesn't feel like an option all the time, because then like, ooh, what happens, right? Am I still enough? Am I still good? Am I still worth it? You know? And so it's been through a lot of discussions with God that I've even arrived at knowing, oh, this is the truth that I'm operating out of. It's in there. It's in my psyche. It's in my spirit, you know? And so really have had to do a lot of work to try and dismantle and disengage and disconnect from that. But it has not been easy.
Yeah, thank you for being vulnerable with us with that. I think that's probably, in my opinion, which matters to me, maybe not
And
others,
to me.
is that's what makes you such a special mental health provider, is that you offer up yourself as not just a model, but also as an example of I am in practice.
Yes.
And I think for people who are on a wellness journey, and depending on where they are, right, with either maintaining mental health, right, or trying to deal with mental illness, is having a hope that there is hope for them and that they are not on an island by themselves or some sort of unicorn. And so being related to, I'll never forget one of my most memorable experiences of you is at the retreat when you, at your first year, you presented and then you immediately went and sat down and became a participant for the next session. And we're writing and we're crying and we're soaking and absorbing. And I always thought to myself, that is exactly what it should be like. If we're going to be women and women leaders in this wellness journey for each other, we've got to offer up expertise and we've got to offer up, I am in practice.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I'm so glad to be, you know, in practice and process, because it helps me defeat my own demons of perfectionism, right? And helps me encounter my humanity. You know, sometimes that gets lost in the productivity and the capitalism and, you know, our society and everything like that. And I need to be reminded of my humanity. And most recently, I've been contending with God because I'm recognizing that I'm finite. That is my new word right now.
Wow.
And recognizing that I am a rock trying to live as a mountain. You know, I'm a cup of water trying to live as an ocean. You know, just all of these things.
Kind of stop right there because I think it's worth letting that sort of sit with all of us. You said that I am a rock trying to live as a mountain.
Yeah.
And I am a cup trying to live as an ocean.
Yeah. Cup of water.
And the burden of that, which leads me to my next question. You talk about the burden that you felt for perfectionism and productivity, which is why rest sometimes feels foreign to you.
Yeah.
And maybe even unattainable to you, or maybe not worthy of rest. I wonder whether or not somebody placed that on you, or if it's something that just behavior sort of imposed on you, right? My question for you today is, how do you manage and navigate those weights today? Like, what are you doing with the need to produce all the time?
Well, this year I committed to 52 Sabbaths.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations. We're going to stop and we're going to celebrate the fact
Thank
that you even had the audacity to commit to something so far and for such an extended period of time.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I mean, praise God for that. It's only for his glory, you know, and his invitation. He's been hotly pursuing me.
Yeah,
in
he's
this
like
way.
that.
I mean,
I think we have a good friend called Charlie that says he is insidious in his pursuit. And there is this song, I forget who wrote it, but it's, oh, the reckless love of God. It chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I don't deserve it. I couldn't earn it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah.
And the reckless.
I love that.
Never-ending reckless love of God.
Yeah.
He will chase us.
He will chase us.
And thank you for chasing me.
Yeah.
I think that's just I think everybody right now, just take a and say, God, thank you for chasing me.
Yes.
And how foolish were we to be trying to outrun the greatest gift.
I know.
known
And I'm
to
out there
man.
too,
Me
just
too.
running cartwheels, doing
Just
whatever
doing
I
all
can.
kinds, zigzagging.
Zigzag,
Yeah,
dodging.
what we doing?
You know.
Dodging and a weaving, playing in these
I
spiritual streets
know.
of traffic.
Spiritual
Just crazy
streets of traffic.
time. USA.
Yes,
Ma'am,
absolutely.
let me tell you, you wrote in this journal about mental health and well-being and reflection, and I'd like to share your story with others if you're okay with that.
Definitely. Yeah.
There I was, holding my swollen belly, tears streaming down my face. I hadn't realized how much I'd been holding my breath, managing the daily overwhelm, pain, and disappointment. It was as if my body had been screaming for release in the face of everything falling apart. Why did I have to stay so strong? Why did I have to maintain my composure when everything within me wanted to crumble? The events of those months left a permanent mark on me. The horrific killings of Black men like Alton Sterling and Philando Castile haunted me, affected my mind and my body in ways I could not fully articulate. Fear, tension, and a sense of helplessness gripped me. Then the blow was made even sharper by the silence of those who should have spoken up for justice. My heart broke repeatedly, and all the while, I was expected to remain intact, especially in a work environment that refused to acknowledge the racial trauma I was enduring. After 2 years of experiencing profound racism at my workplace, I cried out to God for liberation. I knew something had to change. During my tears and pain, my young child reached out and wiped my tears with such gentleness that it shattered me. That simple act of love reminded me that I did not have to wait around for systems that were never meant to heal me. My worth and mental health were not tied to those institutions. I could take the steps to care for my own soul, to protect my peace, and to find rest in God's unconditional love. Racism deeply impacts mental health, and its trauma is multi-layered and complex. Through my journey, I have come to understand that my worth is not determined by how others see me or by the harmful systems in place. It is determined by God, who is with me in my pain and who has used my story for his glory. God has invited me into a deeper relationship with him, one rooted in trust and love. He has also given me the platform to speak about racial trauma and the path leading to healing. In my practice, I equip others to reclaim their worth and find spaces that reflect their true value. Ma'am. I think we just got to take a moment to just let that sit with us. Mm-hmm. That was vulnerable. May I ask, were you pregnant during this time?
I was pregnant, yes. Right up, in that last year or so. Yeah, I was pregnant and experiencing just really egregious things, watching leadership double down around protecting themselves, protecting whiteness, and the systems in place rather than protecting me, my unborn child, the other folks of color that were in that space. And that is a part probably that I am still holding, is that there was harm being done to me even as I was holding my child.
Oh, there was harm being done to you while you were holding your unborn child. Yeah. I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm so sorry. Tell me, when you say you're still holding that, in what way? What does that look like?
I mean, it comes up for me. This is what happens with traumatic stress. It gets triggered and activated in different ways. And so even if I'm not thinking about it every day, even if I'm not, reminiscing about it in those ways. Like the body holds trauma. The body, when it's activated, when there's even an echo of something related to it, the body moves into action, you know, and goes into protection mode and everything. But I do like sometimes look at my now 6-year-old who was the child in my tummy, and you know, she's all fire. She's persistent. She is, whew, no is merely a negotiable. Like it's like that's a time to start negotiating.
She's my kind of people.
Yes, and she's the smallest one, but she makes the biggest impact. You know, and I do wonder sometimes what it would have been like to be healthier with her. You know, more well as I carried her. But she was forged in fire, and I think that there's good parts to that, and I think that sometimes I sit with as a mother, you know, like I wonder if there were any pieces that are more, you know, knit in her DNA, right? You know, from that experience.
Here's what I can offer you also as a mother who, because my son was conceived as a result of a violent attack, is whatever pieces are broken, love has the capacity to heal. So even if in your pain, in holding her, guess what? You'll still hold her and help her on her journey to healing. If you do find someday that there were cracks and crevices because of your brokenness while you were carrying her. Was it okay for me to offer you that?
I received that.
Yes, and we'd like to offer that to you too, as a mother. If you have broke your child, help fix them. Own what you did, admit it, acknowledge it, apologize for it. Let them ask questions about it respectfully. Be okay while they share their pain with you about what it did to them. And then at some point, release yourself and let it go. Yeah, that's what we do, because we are not perfect.
No.
Listen, we are in process. You got the P's mixed up, okay? All right. So now your story highlights the profound impact of racism on mental health. How did you first begin to recognize the toll it was taking on your well-being?
Well, I mean, it was kind of some of those more intangible things, like an increase in heart rate as I knew I had to go to work and deal with what was happening. I mean, this all started right after Alton Sterling and Philando Castile were lynched by police, you know. And in watching that media, in understanding that even as these two men were unarmed, even as one of them was sitting with his 4-year-old daughter in the back seat, that they were still considered a threat, that they were still considered something to be annihilated rather than to move on from, you know. And so it was almost this realization that, oh, right, like they have the same skin color as me. Oh, right, I've been perceived as a threat as well. Oh, right, like even though I've earned this PhD, even though I've done so many things well, again, by the grace of God, you know, there's still potential that all I will be seen as is a Black person worthy of, you know, being seen as something
Public,
that needs to be executed. Yeah, absolutely. Which does a lot, right? Like it does a lot to your psyche. And for me already, I think because of my birth story, because of, you know, my parents, because of how I took that in, I already had a deficit of worth and value, right? And so this story that lives in the very air that we breathe, right? Of less than, inferiority, things like this, it's also come in to reinforce that in really dangerous ways. And so, yeah, so noticing, you know, fear, anxiety, noticing heart issues, noticing, you know, my stomach feeling very sick a lot, noticing myself questioning myself.
Every day when you get ready to go to work.
Every day when I get ready to go to work.
5 days a week, I presume.
Yeah. And seriously pregnant, you know, as well. You know, there was a lot of pieces of that. I didn't feel competent. I didn't
And you
feel.
didn't feel competent, even though you were well qualified for your
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
That's so important, I think, that we extract that and talk about that, is that the effects of this can make you doubt the very thing that you are very knowledgeable of.
It's true. Right. And I know that God's called me to this,
Yeah.
right? Like he's ordained every single step that's moved me into this positioning and this location. But the impact of racism made me question that, made me question God, right? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure you know what you're
Yeah,
doing?
I can't imagine a person of color that has not had that conversation with him and said, "Do you see us?
Right.
Do you
Show
see what's
up.
happening?
Yes.
Like,
Show
you
up.
have redeemed this group. You have redeemed
Yes.
this group. Where is our redemption? Where is our moment?"
Yes. Yeah. When
And I
are you
think,
going to claim us again, God?
oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I love having honest conversations with the Lord. I love that. So now, you mentioned crying out to God for liberation. What did that process look like?
I mean, there's a lot of crying. I mean, I don't know.
Where there
My
is that,
liberation
lots of
doesn't.
clinics, lots of clinics.
My
You may have
liberation
carried
doesn't
them
come
through
without
one
tears.
quarter. Okay.
Yeah. It looked like, praying on the commute in, it looked like praying on the commute out,
Wow. So you didn't take it home?
So I didn't take it home so I could leave something there, and it worked sometimes, but I didn't even know what liberation looked like, right? I was so, because of like financial scarcity in my past too, right? Like, oh, I need this job. I need the steady paycheck. I need to do it in just this way because that's what's expected of me. And it's got to be in this place because they accepted me for a job. Like I owe this place something.
This is so interesting to hear you say this, Dr. Kandi, with all of your education around mental wellness. And you say, well, I knew this place was harmful for me. I knew this environment was doing something to me and to my very well loved unborn child.
Yeah.
But because this is how I make money, I am going to continue to show up here in this space. And I wonder how many people, because I've certainly been there before, known a space or a place wasn't healthy for me, but because this is the job I worked for, I waited for this promotion, or I always wanted to work for this company or have this office.
Yes.
That I subjected myself to treatment that wasn't good for me mentally, wasn't good for me emotionally, that wasn't good for me physically.
Yeah.
That did things to my psyche. But that moment of clarity, which took a long time, in some cases years,
Yes.
to come to the reality to say, there is no amount of money, there is no position, there is nothing worth this. I don't care what credentials you have.
Yeah.
You will take something that allows you to operate in purpose and believe that God is going to provide.
Yeah, it was this moment, right? My daughter,
Yeah.
we were sitting at, I don't know, we were at Panera Bread. I don't know if you have to scrub that out if you
No,
can't say
I love
places.
Panera Bread.
Panera Bread is great.
Indeed.
The soups, the bread, it's amazing.
You're welcome for this free
You're welcome.
advertisement.
Yes. But I was sitting there, we were about to go to a Wednesday night Bible study. And I was talking to my husband about it, who's, very supportive, of course. But my daughter, I think she was like 2.5, and I was crying in my pain. I was crying because even retelling the story, like my body was reacting to it, and all that it could do was just grieve, right? Just grieve this constant experience. And so I really was in my eyes were closed, and I just felt two little hands on the side of my face, caressing my cheeks. And she was just looking at me. She didn't say a word. She just looked at me, and I was like, oh, this is it right here. Like, I can't continue to let my daughter watch me suffer in silence or watch me endure something that's not for me, right? Like, I wasn't supposed to be there any longer, and I think God was making a way for sure. I mean, I could tell you that story at another podcast. He made a way, and that's why I'm here in Memphis.
Talk about it. Yeah.
But it was like at that moment, like my daughter was just like, I was like, I can't do this with her anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't let her watch me
So
suffer.
your reason for actually enduring the treatment was looking at you, reminding you that the reason was more important than the provision.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good.
Yeah.
So now, in your practice, you now
Mhm.
equip others to reclaim their worth from both sides of the process. You work with people that also who were racist, help them on
Sure.
their journey. You
Yeah.
have people who have been on the receiving end of that to help them
Mhm.
heal from it. So now in your practice to help others reclaim their worth, what does that process look like and what has been the most rewarding part of that work?
I mean, it's been a fascinating work. um, I believe therapy is, you know, it's ministry.
I agree.
Yeah, it's God doing a work through me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just merely a vessel with a few, you know, with a few skills.
I
But
mean, that's very humble. Okay.
that's
Well, you got a few skills.
but
Mm-hmm.
you know, like it's me and God, you know, doing the
Mm-hmm.
things, and I do think that it's reconciliation work.
Mm-hmm.
It's restorative work too. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the best thing is that as I work, especially with folks of color, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as we start to look at, oh, here are these events in time that have defined you, like defined what blackness or brownness looks like and feels like for you. Here are the messages my parents gave. You know, a lot of parents and parenting children of color is about parenting for prevention of violence, you know,
Oh,
or
that's
prevention of threat,
heartbreaking.
right? You know, and
Yeah.
it's not often parenting towards, you know, what is your true worth and value, and how do you live in that? How do you live into your potential and into your calling? It's
Mm-hmm.
not that. It's more about how do you stay safe. And I don't blame parents. I'm a parent too. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out how do I do that? But
Mm-hmm.
it's going back to those primary messages
Mm-hmm.
about what blackness and brownness is. And oftentimes we depict them as threat even in our own
We
socialization.
do.
Yeah, you know, and so we miss opportunities to facilitate in our, I mean, peer-to-peer relationships and our children that, man, we are royalty.
Yeah.
We are resilient.
Yeah.
We are people of purpose. Like we are
Mm-hmm.
God's chosen, like, you know, all of these things, royal priesthood, all of the things,
Yes.
right?
This is why it's so important to know the character of God. And you can't know that
Yes,
if you don't read his word
it's
and
true.
then ask him to breathe life into the word so that
Yeah.
you can understand it. Because there are
Yes,
hidden messages. Oh my gosh, only
it's
for his
true.
children. I love that.
Yeah.
So now what role I'd like to say does pursuing God's glory for your life have in its impact in your work?
Well, it's you know this thing about racism. I mean, uh, the thing about racism that should be a
That's a
podcast. Yeah.
podcast. I think we should start.
So, but you know, it's hundreds of years in the making, right?
If not, yeah.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's there with its brother, white supremacy, and that ideology, you know, and so really, you know, attending to the glory of God. You know, we have to be able to see the unseen, because what I can see and what a lot of times my clients can see, and just the communities of color that I work with, like we see the systems in place. We understand that we are meant, you know, to remain sick. We are meant to remain inferior and in pain and in suffering based on the systems that are in place.
Right.
And it's only through kind of, you know, dismantling some of that we can do that. But the glory of God comes in, right? Like, because we have to be able to see ourselves as God sees us. And that's been my journey. Like, I've grown up with white God, I've grown up with white Jesus,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
like, and that's the only way, right? That the way is paved to be a certain way, and that God can only accept you if you align with whiteness and white culture and things like this. And that's just not true of the God
Right.
that I serve and that I see in the Bible. God is not a respecter of any of these things that we so glorify
Absolutely.
here. God, He's our Father, and we're dearly loved and we're worthy and we're valuable. And He had a plan for each and every one of us. He has a plan for me. He has a plan for you.
Right.
And He put it into place at the beginning of time. He knew my name, right? He
Yes.
knit me in the womb. He knit all of
Right.
us. Like His handprint is on us and on
Intention.
our lives, right? He was intentional about me. Like
Yeah.
in a world and in a place in a society that tells me I'm this, and this, God says, heck no. He says, heck no.
Yeah. And that's okay. He says it.
He said
I
that's
love that.
okay, right?
But my two final questions. You speak about creating a legacy of healing for future generations. How do you hope your story will inspire others to reclaim their worth and prioritize their well-being?
I don't know. They've got to see me doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Lead by example.
Leading by example. When I think about legacy, I think about my daughters, the work that I do, and that's been the beautiful thing, right? Like the racial trauma that I experienced is now the thing that I talk about, and I go in to systems and speak about and help systems fix and repair and try and do something different so that they don't cause harm, right? That's a legacy right there. But it's always been about my girls. Like I need them to see me doing my own dismantling work. I need them to see me fully dependent and surrendered to God.
So good.
And I need them to know like God's the identifier for me. Like He's the one that shaped me and formed me. So who am I to look outside of that and external to me to claim something that's not a definer of me?
So good. That's so good. So I'd like to, in my closing question, to look at your camera.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask you, what advice would you give to individuals facing racial trauma who feel isolated or unsupported in their environments?
I think the thing that I tell my clients most often is one, to know your worth and value. And to know that from a place of stability and context within God and how He sees you, His mad pursuit for you. And to not go into systems or not remain in places that don't accurately reflect back to you your worth and value. I think that it's important, I understand and know, y'all have heard my story, that it is hard to leave relationships. It's hard to leave workspaces. It's hard to leave things that provide for you. And there is a lot more cost to losing your soul in these spaces. They take from you. When you're in a space that isn't accurately declaring your worth and your value, you're giving away parts of self. You're living a fragmented life. And I wish for you wholeness. I wish for you wellness. And I wish for you the kind of knowledge that you are loved, that you are worthy, that you are valuable, and that you deserve, I believe, to live a life that reflects accurately God's love.
That was beautiful. I would like to say thank you for being with us today. Thank you for offering up yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'd like to say to you that you are worthy of love.
Thank you.
That you are worthy of grace. That you are worthy of acceptance. And I would like to apologize for every mistreatment that you have had and every racial trauma that has been imprinted on your life. And I pray that God will give you beauty in exchange for those ashes.
Amen.
And I declare victory over your life. And I'd like to tell you that you deserve rest. Oof. Thank you all so much for joining us today on the Well Podcast. We will see you next time.